go, folks. Part 2. This is our 100th episode of Here Comes the Spider-Cast, and I thought I would celebrate by jumping ahead to the year 2002 to the first ever live-action theatrical Spider-Man movie. Now, before we get into the review, okay, I just want to... I mean, this is like an old movie. This is like a 19-year-old movie, but let's just briefly flash back 19 years, and let's just quickly say that at this point, the only superhero movies that really were, you know, in the public's consciousness would have been like the Christopher Reeve Supermans, the Batman movies from the 90s, which started good and they got really bad. Superheroes were completely...
Blade,
well, okay,
right?
Okay. Superheroes
that credit card, it's ice to meet you.
Okay. Hey, don't get me wrong. When I rewatch those movies, they have a special place in my heart too. But superheroes went out of fashion, and then Blade was kind of a blip. I mean, it was a decent movie, but it was kind of just like a minor hit. And then X-Men really started the ball rolling on this superhero craze, right? But let's be clear, X-Men was a popular movie, but Spider-Man was a phenomenon. Like, this movie was gigantic when it came out. And I remember I was so, as you know, the guy with the handwritten list of every Spider-Man comic and who wrote it and who drew it, of course I was excited, right? This is only
took
one
it to the movie.
Yeah. I forgot it there. I
showed it to everybody in line.
Yeah. But this is one of only two movies I've ever seen 4 times in the theater. The other one was Pulp Fiction, and of course this one's Spider-Man. So
you know,
when I first saw
funny. I think the only movie I've seen 5 times in theaters was Into the Spider-Verse.
Come on.
Yeah.
Really? Interesting. Okay. So we all love Spider-Man. Well, most of us do. But anyway.
Break my record of Lilo and Stitch. I dare ya.
Really?
How many times did you go see it?
8.
Come on.
That's a good movie.
It was the summer. So I went at least 4 times alone to the theater. And it was at the drive-in.
Wow. I've never seen a movie that many times in the theater. That's amazing.
It's a good movie.
It's a very good
An
Let's
amazing
talk about
movie.
that movie instead.
No.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, again, we're going to jump into the movie in a second, but Josh, I just want to know, were you born yet when this movie came out?
I was born. Yes, I was born.
You think he's 19 years ago? You think Josh is less than 19 years old?
I can't keep track of these things. Okay,
yeah,
so
no,
Josh,
I was 7 years old when this movie came
Oof.
out.
Okay.
You're that much younger than me? I was 10.
So just before we jump into our review, I just want to point out quickly, a lot of times we like to quote box office intakes, but they usually don't account for inflation, which I have adjusted for inflation, and I will give you the quick top 10, really fast, of the top 10 superhero movies of all time. Starting at number 10, Superman from 1978, The Dark Knight Rises, Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, then Batman, then Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Then the top 5 is Avengers Infinity War, The Dark Knight, Black Panther, Avengers, and Avengers Endgame. So that gives you an idea of how big these movies were at the time they came out. We talked, Josh, quickly about, you know, how old you were when you saw it. Jolie, what about you? What was your experience seeing this movie for the first time?
Well, I was dragged to a movie theater in high school to see this film, 2002.
Yep.
So I was in grade 12.
Okay.
11. 12. Yes. Okay. So I would have went with my then high school boyfriend, who was the type of person who wore button-up shirts. But here's the thing. They did not have flames.
Loser.
No.
They what?
They did not have flames.
Oh, okay.
They had he had several shirts that were just embroidered Spider-Man button-ups.
Yeah, what kind of nerd would have those?
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if you remember, but are you talking about the shirt that I have? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think you're misremembering.
Josh is giggling nervous laughing. He wore it yesterday when he went out to the yeah, do you know the shirt that you have, Becca? He had that shirt too.
Yeah, it was a shirt for not. Yeah. I love that shirt.
Right? Okay.
It's got big old 90s Spider-Man art on the back, and it's not flames, but it's almost flames.
It's almost. It feels like flames.
Right? It's just one big flame for Spider-Man. And I remember seeing it and going, they don't have shirts like that for women. I would have had to tailor it. It was a box. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I almost bought it. I almost bought one, but then we would be that weird couple that matched. But anyway,
But that would have been sick.
what I remember the most, now I look back on that fondly. What I remember the most is that soundtrack. Because we listened to it in the car all the time. Hero, Nickelback.
Oh, I thought you meant the score, and I was like, yes,
Nope.
Danny Elfman, let's go. Oh, okay.
The score is fine. Danny Elfman is perfect. But Nickelback, Jolie in 2002, who were you? What was wrong with your life? Who hurt you that made you think Nickelback was a good idea?
Right.
And anyway.
Okay.
That's my experience.
A hero will save us.
Oh my
Wait a
god,
minute.
I forgot.
Was that the real Chad Kruger? Anyway.
That's right. I'm on Spidercast today.
Wow, we got Chad Kruger. Can I ask you something, Chad?
Go ahead. I only know how he sounds when he's singing.
I've always wanted to ask Chad Kruger this, and this is going to be probably the most Canadian thing I've ever said in my entire life. But did you and Avril Lavigne get divorced because she got Lyme disease? Or because she was killed and then swapped with a body double, as per the conspiracy?
Well, they say that she must have died, but that is not true. It was the Lyme disease.
Oh, okay, I just was wondering.
Damn.
I just was wondering.
I mean, I
Right?
do want to date her, but maybe not if she has Lyme disease. I don't know.
Wow.
You didn't know that Avril Lavigne had Lyme disease?
Well, I know because you told me. But anyway.
But,
Just now.
I love the idea that I've told you this prior.
Yeah, you told me on an episode of Comic Book Syndicate. I remember. Anyway. Okay.
I only have one fact about Avril Lavigne.
Exactly. That's it. Okay. But
You're
you
at
also
a party.
thought-
It's like really awkward. You've never met them before. You're like, hey, did you ever hear about Avril Lavigne and Lyme disease?
But you also
that you-
acted like this was common knowledge, so I don't know. I thought
I thought it was. I thought it was Canadian
Chad obviously
history.
knows, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Chad, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Josh, did you know that Avril Lavigne had Lyme
I
disease?
did.
Thank
See?
God. Oh my God.
Everyone knows that.
Shout out to other
Anyway.
Canadian celeb survivors. Justin Bieber.
Oh yeah.
He
I
too
did
has
not
Lyme
know that.
disease.
Interesting.
He has Lyme disease?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of unusual that like a disproportionately high of Canadian celebrities have Lyme disease and like no one else
It's 'cause-
does?
They're all from Ontario and they're hanging out with the ticks and there's nothing to do, so they just go in the backwoods.
That could be it. Yeah.
That's what it is. Justin Bieber was from Oh my God.
This is the exact shirt I had as a kid.
Oh.
Josh just sent a picture in the chat
Oh,
of
you
the
were one of the
Spider-Man.
cool kids. I got it. Okay.
Oh my God. Were you my high school boyfriend?
Yeah. That's how I know you.
That's how I
I
remember.
thought you looked familiar.
Yeah.
Josh said he was 8 in 2002,
Oh.
so maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Anyway,
Yeah,
I
maybe
was
not.
10.
Oh, yeah. So,
So-
Becca, tell us, what was your experience with Spider-Man when it came out?
Ooh. You know, like those like vibrating children that they just can't sit down,
Okay.
like and sit still.
Okay.
And you're like, man, I feel bad for her parents. That kid's whack. That was me in line to see this movie.
Really? That's so cool.
I was like, oh my God, I love Spider-Man. And this is like 10-year-old Rebecca, so I have no friends. My only friends are comic books and regular books.
Right.
And my cat. So
I remember in 2002, I had my, it was my 7th birthday that year. So my 7th birthday was turtle themed, which just shows you how cool I was.
Oh, yes.
I like
can tell.
turtles.
Yeah, it was turtle themed, and every single present I got was either turtle themed or Spider-Man themed. And I actually remember one of my favorite presents I got that year was a Green Goblin from the movie that was on the glider, and when you like turned the switch on at the bottom, it was like a it had like wheels and stuff, but instead of like going straight like a remote control car does, the wheels spun at the bottom and the Green Goblin glider just like went out of control and it would like spin in circles and figure eights and just like drive wherever.
I love that.
Yeah.
Man, do you remember, I don't know if you had this, but I had this, the Spider-Man web
Shooters?
shooters. That they shot silly with silly
Yes.
string.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
my mom got them for me and just immediately regret.
Yeah.
Like, just, I've never seen a woman so upset about her decision, besides the decision to have me. Like, that one, and then giving me silly string web shooters and a plastic Spider-Man mask.
I remember getting into a lot of like fights with my little cousin because it would start off as like a fun like silly string and then it was you silly string me in the eye. Yeah.
I remember, like, because we lived with my Italian grandmother, and I would web up her prized perennial bushes, and, like, that's not good. It was bad time for me. But I don't care. I didn't care, because I was Spider-Man. This is probably one of the coolest moments of young Rebecca's life. I think I had to beg my dad to take me to see this movie, because he did not want to do that.
There's something magical about Spidey, as we all know, right? Like, I grew up, obviously I'm older than you guys. I grew up on the
What? Since when?
the live action TV show, on the cartoon. Oh yeah, I see this shirt now. That's pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, that's
see,
awesome.
I didn't have any shirts. They didn't exist back when I was a kid, but I definitely love Spider-Man. So when I saw this movie, it was a godsend. So, go ahead, Becca.
I was just gonna say, I have a picture on my Instagram of me wearing that shirt.
Send it
Oh,
along.
when I find it, I will send you a picture. We went to England for like a week together to meet his English side of his family, and he wore nothing but those shirts. So I will find the box
God,
full of
that's
those pictures,
amazing.
and I will send them all to you.
Yes, do it. Also, I'm saving these pictures, so feel free to send me whatever picture you have, Becca. I'm going to be posting these later.
I put it in the group chat.
Okay.
It's, my Instagram, Bex Luther X. Come check me out, like the picture.
I can't wait.
But yeah, no, I think, like, Mike obviously was going to go see this movie, and Jolie was obviously going to go see this movie because they're fans, and they were, well, Jolie was almost an adult and stuff like that. But I think for Josh and I, it was like, I don't know if that can be replicated, that feeling of going to see Spider-Man for the first time.
Yeah, it was something else. It was nothing. I mean, I think I was already in love with like movies and like action movies and stuff like that because around that time the Star Wars movies were coming out too. Mm-hmm. And I remember being obsessed with those, and so I was already just like obsessed with the movie going experience. That was like my favorite thing to do. It's still my favorite thing to do is go see movies. So yeah, I remember Spider-Man being like one of the best, like going to see that movie was one of the best days ever. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See,
I don't think I've ever been that happy again.
hey,
So
I can
I peaked, yeah.
I can relate. I mean, obviously, like I said, I was older. I was what? Oh my God, how old was I? In 2002, I would have been 26, I think. But,
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
But
hey,
I forget.
I just turned 26 yesterday.
yeah. But so imagine,
Whoa, it's full circle.
Josh waiting your whole life and there's no Spider-Man movie. There's almost no superhero movies. And then all of a sudden it gets announced and you're like, here we go. And you're trying to convince your friends to go and they barely give a shit about it.
All I'd have is my list.
Yeah, exactly. Totally true. And I remember I worked at Future Shop at the time. I remember telling this girl who...
Oh, God.
this is not going to end
so well.
Yeah, no, but I was just like, okay, just so you know...
And then they got married.
If this movie... No. I was like, if this movie is not good, I'm going to be so depressed, I'm going to book the day off work. And she was like, she thought it was funny, but not like a haha funny kind of way, more like a you're pathetic kind of way. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. She was laughing at me, not with me. But anyway... So let's talk about this movie here, okay? Okay, so I set for...
What's she doing now? Does she have a podcast? Doubt it.
Doubt it, exactly.
I doubt she's still talking about Spider-Man.
Yeah, she doesn't have any
We've
lists.
got 3 podcasts, and she's got 3 bratty-ass kids.
Probably. She probably has a husband, anyway.
Gross. Ew. What
So
heterosexual nonsense.
So anyway, so let's talk about this movie. I just rewatched it again 2 nights ago, and I mean, I've seen this movie so many times it's practically memorized. But I gotta say, is it possible it was slightly better than I remember? Is it possible?
Yep. No.
Because even the things that I remember criticizing when I first saw it, I'm like, no, it's better than I thought. Like, I really like this movie. Lightning fast editing by Sam Raimi. It is very cheesy, but that was intentional because Sam Raimi is known for that type of, movie. He did Evil Dead and Army of Darkness and blah, blah, blah. He is a sort of a comedy, action, horror, B-movie director. That's his thing. I think it worked perfectly with this movie. And I have many, many, many notes that I will bring up as we go along. But I got to say, other than a small subplot in the middle, which I'll talk about later, I thought it was just as good as I remember. And for the record, still better than most Marvel Studios films, in my opinion. But we will jump to Joshua Mervell to get your impression. What did you think of it this time around?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this movie.
Okay.
And it was great. It was great watching it again. I felt really nostalgic, and I think maybe that could be why I love it so much. Like,
sure.
I really enjoyed watching it this time so much because it really like brought me back to those days. It felt very different from superhero movies today, for sure.
Right.
I think that some things really work about it. Like, the costume is great. Willem Dafoe is fantastic. I fucking love Willem Dafoe so much.
Yes.
I think that some things don't work. I think that I really like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and Peter Parker, but do I believe he's in high school? No, I don't believe any of those actors are in high school. I was surprised at how quickly we get into the story as well. How quickly he's bitten by the spider. Like, it's probably in the first 10 minutes. He's like, boom, he's got the powers.
Right.
They do a really great job of setting up who he is. And like, I tried to kind of throw out everything I know about Spider-Man and try to think about it like, if somebody doesn't know who Spider-Man is this moving too fast? Like, are they getting what's happening here? Do they know who Peter Parker is before he becomes Spider-Man? And I think that they do a pretty good job, right? Like, they make him that typical, like, dorky science nerd in high school. You automatically get the fact that he's in love with MJ and nothing ever goes right for him. He's always kind of getting himself into these shitty situations that are not really, his fault. Right. And then, they jump right into the story. He's Spider-Man, and then he's like making his own costume right away. I was just surprised at how quickly we were swinging through the city.
Right. Okay.
Swinging.
Okay. G.I. Julie, what's your impression?
I remember really liking the film. I remember really liking the actors. I especially really enjoy Tobey Maguire. I still really enjoy Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. I'm with Josh where I don't believe that they are high school students. But that's the thing too, is that at the time they were the Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst. They were the people who were in the films that I was watching in high school. So in my mind, like, it didn't matter. Right. But now as an actual adult, I'm like, oh, okay, well, no, they look like they're in their late 20s. Mm-hmm. They look like,
I think Tobey was 35, right?
Whoa. No way.
Something like that. I'll look it up, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like that's some Charisma Carpenter magic that he's spinning on the big screen there. And like Joe Manganiello as Flash Thompson, he looks like a 35-year-old man disguised as a 16-year-old.
That spiky
Doesn't bother me
2000s
none,
hair,
though.
though, huh?
Right? You just needed some puka shells and like a silver vest to really complete that that douchebag look.
This movie was very early 2000s. Like, watching it back now, it's like, oof. Like, really
It
pushes
screams
back.
2002.
Yes, it does, which is unfortunate.
I mean, Macy Gray? Are you kidding me?
I have that in my
Hell
notes.
Macy Gray
yeah.
could get it.
Why?
I also have that in my notes.
Right, but let's be clear. Anytime you stick like a current pop star in a movie, it dates the movie, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's no. I don't get me wrong. I like Macy Gray, but that really even in 2002, I'm like, oh, here we go.
You don't have to speak about Jennifer Lopez that way.
What do you mean?
She's a great actress. You said anytime you stick a film as a musician.
But I mean, not as an actor, but as like, you know, when you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, let's go see, you know, the band that has a hit on the radio this week. And then the movie 20 years later is completely dated, right? Because what if that band disappeared? I'm just saying.
Okay, good point.
Yeah, I did just watch Scooby-Doo and Sugar Ray's in that. So.
My God.
Sugar Ray will hashtag live forever.
Opening up a little time capsule.
Right?
Ooh, some puka shells. Oh, my God.
Frosted.
Sugar
Freddie
Ray's
Prinze
in here?
Jr.
What's Sugar Ray doing here?
What's Sugar Ray doing in my time capsule?
Yeah, I just the one thing that I can't get over is I think it was right around this time as well because it was happening in Harry Potter, was where they started to use that weird floppy like CGI video game CGI.
Ooh, yes.
And it's actually not done terribly in this film.
Ooh, okay.
But it's not good either. Like it's
For
not
the time.
flawless. Yeah, for the time you could barely notice it. For our time, it's all you see. What else didn't hold up? Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane.
I personally really liked her, but
I'm with Jolie.
Yeah, like I liked her in 2002. I still love her as an actress. Like Bring It On is one of my favorite films. But for some reason in this movie, I feel like if she was to do this again today, she would play Mary Jane differently.
well, maybe, yeah.
Well, I would maybe, I don't know. Like, I feel like someone told her to play Mary Jane in a way that is not, you know, supporting of feminist views of how women should be or become. I don't know. There's just something about the Mary Jane in this movie that I can't see eye to eye with. I never saw eye to eye with anyway, but I really don't. I can't connect to it. And I've been able to connect well with, like, you know, her Torrance is amazing, but, you know, she was in a plethora of other, quote, teen romance movies at the time. Like the one where they do Hamlet, I think. Is it Hamlet or Midsummer Night's Dream? Anyway,
I
Ben
think I saw
Foster's
that,
in
yeah.
it too.
Okay.
But like that's like one of my favorite teen comedy romance films, and like I just can't get behind her in this film. I don't know. Sorry.
Really? Okay. All right, we'll get back to it in a minute, but Bex Luthor, what's your impression of this, seeing it again?
It was an interesting rewatch because I feel like I just watched it recently, but maybe that was 10 years ago. I don't know. Who can keep track of time anymore? But when Jolie said the CG doesn't hold up, I would like to point out the turning the men into skeletons scene.
What was that? That was weird.
Shut up. That's a masterpiece, and one of my. I forgot how many great tidbits are in this movie of just meme internet culture.
Yeah.
Just the worst, like, and the best. I mean the best. But I do want to say that my opinion originally, and maybe not as a child, but as an adult, is that I don't like James Franco as an actor or a person. I hear he's not great. Quit texting underage girls, James Franco. I don't like Kirsten Dunst in this. I think her and Tobey Maguire have no chemistry, which is wild because I think they were dating at the time.
They were, and I think that at the time too, they were breaking up.
Oh.
During Spider-Man 3, and apparently, like, some of the, like, people in the production, like higher up, were asking them not to go public about their breakup until after the movie comes out, because it would have affected ticket sales.
That's heartbreaking. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm crying right now.
So is having to date Tobey Maguire.
No,
rough
stop.
go. I heard he was a dick on set of this movie. Nobody wanted to work with him. Actually, that's one of my fun trivia facts. Is who's the actor who played Flash?
Joe
Joe
Manganiello.
Manganiello.
Yeah, I guess the the techie staff, like the lighting crew and stuff, we're gonna pay him $100 to actually punch Peter in the face, or punch Tobey Maguire in the face, like accidentally in that scene, because they hated him.
Well,
that would have been awesome.
okay, quick
I guess he was a big pain to work with.
note, Beck, I'm just going to cut in. Have you guys seen the movie Molly's Game?
No.
Okay, it's a great movie. It's a true story about a girl who starts an illegal poker game with all these big Hollywood actors. But in the movie, Michael Cera plays one of the big Hollywood actors. But the real life person that Michael Cera is based on is Tobey Maguire. And apparently in real life, he is an asshole. Like, he told this girl to, like, he forced her to, like, bark like a dolphin in front of, like, all these people and stuff. So apparently Tobey Maguire is an asshole. But in this movie, he is so, in my opinion, so fucking good. Like, he's obviously a great actor if he can play such a nice, lovable, Peter Parker. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. So I just think he has no chemistry with Kristen Dunst, which is weird. His friendship with Harry is much more developed than his apparent, like, 10-year-long crush on Mary Jane. Also, very unfortunate that James Franco, most of his scenes are with Willem Dafoe, because how do you compete with that? How do you keep up with that? Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is arguably one of the best Marvel bad guys adaptations ever. I mean, and then Spider-Man 2, obviously. But these first two Spider-Man movies, like, I don't care about what's happening to anybody else except Norman Osborn in this movie. I love his going crazy when he gets put into the gas chamber and by, like, his dude, and then he's like, "Oh, Norman, are you okay?" And he jumps out and hisses.
So good.
It's
so good.
great.
It's like, everyone in this movie is like on like, they're like giving it, they're trying, they're acting, and then Willem Dafoe is just like, no, I am the Green Goblin. Like,
I remember clearly the scene. This is like a jump scare that got me so bad as a kid. Was when Spider-Man goes back up to the burning building to save the woman screaming.
Yes.
And then he turns around and it's Green Goblin and he fucking screams at Spider-Man. That scared the crap out of me as a kid. That, like, I remember my heart racing at that moment. And like, everybody really gripes on the Green Goblin costume, and I agree. I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, obviously, I would have liked that, like, rubber mask that could, like, move with Willem Dafoe's face, especially since he's so, like, he's just such a great actor, and his, like, facial performance is so great when he's Norman and not Green Goblin, and he's, like, talking to himself in the mirror. It's fantastic, but his voice is so great,
amazing
that I even forget that it's like that it's just like a plastic helmet that he's wearing. It does not bother me when I'm watching the movie. It's afterwards when I'm thinking about it, like, the costume wasn't the best. It doesn't really look like Green Goblin a whole lot. But when I'm in the movie, I'm not thinking about it at all because I'm just so terrified of him.
have you seen that, like, test footage they did where it was like makeup
It's
and
so
a like, why I'm every day I'm sad that they didn't go with that.
It's so good.
Well,
But there are a couple scenes where it's just Green Goblin and Spider-Man and they're talking, and like there's no facial features at all going on because they're both in just masks that don't have any features in them. And it took me out for a second. I was like, oh yeah, but just the camp that Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is, and when I say camp, I mean it in the best possible way. This movie is so campy. I think you said, Mike, I think you said it's cheesy, and I would disagree. I
Yeah,
think
it's campy. Yeah, it's intentional. Yeah.
It's intentional camp,
Right.
and it works so well with the universe and everything. It's all cohesive together. My second favorite Green Goblin, next to the Spider-Man musical,
Boy.
because nothing could top that. But no, this movie is Green Goblin's movie. I don't care about Spider-Man. I don't care about Aunt May. I don't care about Mary Jane. I kind of care about Uncle Ben. I'm not gonna lie, kind of cried when they were talking in the car, and Peter just goes, whatever, you're not my real
Right.
dad. And I go, no,
I know.
Uncle Ben.
Oh no, I had a tear. I had a single tear. Yep, 100%.
Which is wild to me that Spider-Man's origin story still affected me.
Yep. Good point. Let's keep talking about Willem Dafoe for a minute. I just sent you guys an image in the chat. You see that? Mm-hmm. Now, let's hire an actor that looks exactly like a fucking goblin and cover his face up with a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers mask. Like, can you imagine this face with just green makeup and like maybe some eyebrows? He's perfect, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just too bad that they screwed it up so badly. But anyway, he's perfect. Yeah, he's perfect.
I just sent a link in chat as well.
Okay.
And this is the screen test for the original costume that they had.
And like, I can't believe they didn't go with it. Was it too scary? Was that what the problem?
Maybe because it is so good. It's unbelievable. And like it would still hold up today. Honestly, it's so great.
Yes. Yeah, honestly.
Did Willem Dafoe? Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say. Go ahead, Becca.
I was gonna say, did he not want to sit like in the makeup chair for like 8 hours a day? Is that why? Like, it must have been.
I don't know.
Well, that's the one blunder. I mean, if you go back to 1989 Batman, Jack Nicholson still looks perfect, right? So they clearly screwed this up because they had it. They could have done it and they didn't do it. So that's one strike against it for sure. And while we're on the topic of Willem Dafoe, do you remember the scene? Remember when he's sitting with the board of directors? And they're like,
you can't do this.
We voted Joe, and he's like, oh, you can't do that. Do you know how much work I put into this? And he's like,
so
and I'm like,
great.
oh, I'm hiding behind my couch. I'm scared of Willem Dafoe. He's such a good actor. Oh my god. You know, like, he's great in this movie. I agree. Like, he carries this. Holy moly, he's so good.
Yeah, I think I wrote about that scene that I was like, you know what? I'm with you, Norman. That's garbage. You deserve this. Like, that's your company. Like, he goes crazy because he's trying to do his own experiments, and he's like, well, I gotta have human testing. I'll test it on myself. Like, I feel so bad for Norman Osborn in this movie. He wants a relationship with his son, and his son's an emo bitch. Like, and he can't. Like, he just wants to succeed in his company, and the board of directors are being rude. So, yeah, go crazy, kill some people. Why not? You know what? I feel for you.
Willem?
As a kid, I was like, boo, Green Goblin. And as an adult, I'm like, you know what? Screw big business.
Green Goblin.
Good.
Willem Dafoe sings Itsy Bitsy Spider in this movie, and it's actually terrifying. Like, it's kind of creepy. Like, he is so great in this role.
Right.
I really hope that he comes back as Green Goblin if they're going to do this like multiverse thing that they're
That
planning.
would be amazing.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
My partner. Oh, sorry.
go ahead, Becca. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say my partner brought up the scene where nobody talks, like they don't talk to each other, but it's when Peter Parker is sneaking back into his apartment and he's on the roof and
Best scene.
Green Goblin and Aunt May
Drop
and
of ketchup falls on the floor.
the drop of blood, and like they don't speak, but the tension. Ugh.
Well, but also my scene following right after that, when they're sitting at dinner and Willem Dafoe looks down and sees the cut on his arm.
He makes the connection.
The best scene in the movie. Because you're like, oh my god, get out of there. What was that, Becca?
I was just gonna say, except for the part where Tobey Maguire says very slowly, "Bike messenger."
Yeah. It's a little bit over the top, yeah, but I love that scene. That whole bit is great. So okay, we all love Willem Dafoe. We've said our piece about Tobey Maguire. We've all talked about Kirsten Dunst. I thought she was still great. I thought she looked great. And I got to point out, I mean, I appreciated this as a kid, but my God, that scene when they're in the rain and she kisses Spider-Man when he's upside down. That is like E.T. flying in front of the moon level iconic. That scene is amazing because there's no other character that could be in that position except Spider-Man. That's why it's so iconic, right? Only Spider-Man hangs upside down like that. Anyway, what were you gonna say, Josh?
No, I agree. It was weird how many like things watching it again. I was like, oh, that's right. That's this movie. Like that's happening now. That's right. Like it does. Like some of these moments do feel classic, or even like funny at times. Like, oh yeah, I forgot that bit was in this movie.
Yep, gotcha.
Like there's so many things building up. That scene in the rain is really great. It's like one of the most iconic kisses, I think, in like film.
I agree.
Like it's pretty. It's up there.
I agree.
think they won the MTV Movie Award for Best Kiss that year.
Well, they deserved it.
Yeah, I was like that they won the Teen Choice Award for Best Kiss because like it did happen immediately after she was almost sexually assaulted though, so that's cool.
Well,
2002.
anyway, yeah, we'll get to more of that in a minute. But so okay, I just am looking through my list here of things. Okay, now speaking of actors, one of the weirdest things about this movie is that J. Jonah Jameson, correct me if I'm wrong, is only in 2 scenes.
It's pretty.
Yeah, maybe 3, but I could. And he's so good, obviously, but 2
and
scenes?
it's insane that he stands out so much.
Right. Like, let's be clear. Again, 2002, I'm going in. I had been reading Spider-Man for, 15, 20 years. J.K. Simmons was sent from Yahweh. He was so freaking good. Never in my wildest imagination could I imagine a guy who was... He captured all of the... What do you call that? Like, he's just such a cantankerous, whatever. But he's also so funny and so likable at the same time.
And the fact that, like, you even get that like softer side of him.
Yeah.
When he doesn't give up Peter. Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
He comes up like, I know it's not J.K. Simmons coming up with it so quickly, but the character, right? Like he comes up with it so quick, a lie to cover. Yep. So this like supervillain doesn't go and kill Peter Parker, right? He's like, I don't know. The photos will come in the mail. We don't know who it is. It's a freelance artist. Like it's, yeah, the fact that he's willing to like die and sacrifice himself as to not, harm Peter is great. Yeah, he is for sure a standout in this movie. And again, like you said, not in very many scenes. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say everyone at the Bugle kind of is spot on there because you've got Robbie, obviously. He's also there. Betty,
Elizabeth Banks, hello.
Right?
Like she's in one scene, and I immediately go, "Oh, I love this person."
Yep.
He's like, Peter's like, "I'm a photographer." She's like, "Yeah, I work on a newspaper. I do not give a shit."
Yeah, exactly.
She just like looks at the camera like, yeah.
And the scene where right before J. Jonah says oh, you got stuff in the mail, where he like tosses his cigar out the window and then the Green Goblin throws it back at him. Come on.
Yep.
That's great. That's good stuff.
Yep. Also, let's talk quickly about Aunt May and Uncle Ben, Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson. I thought they were perfect. Like, I mean, the level of I don't remember the actors from Superman 1, the movie, but these two people I think were just born for these roles. I thought they were, exactly right. And there have been, good actors that have played them since, but I think these two are the iconic ones for me, at least. What did you guys think? Josh, what did you think?
Yeah, they're pretty iconic. I think that Aunt May was very good when you're thinking about like the comics. I mean, I don't know if you could get anybody that like feels more like Aunt May.
Right. Actually, but also likable, like not annoying like the comic, likable, right?
I mean, that scene where the Green Goblin crashes through the building, deliver us.
Yes, that was great.
Finish it.
Yeah, that was a good line.
Great.
Yeah,
oh my
that was
God.
Great.
Yeah.
And what were we gonna say, Jolie? What do you think?
About who? Aunt May and Uncle Ben?
Yeah, who are we talking about? What do you think?
I like them. Yeah, she looks exactly like Aunt May in the comics.
Exactly. What about Cliff Robertson as Ben Parker?
Perfect.
Yep.
Like, that's the one thing I will say about this film is that all around the casting is like spot on. Amazing. Spider-Man. But that's it.
Roll credits.
No, yeah. When he gets dissed in the car when he's dropping off Peter, I felt a gut punch. Just like I think you said earlier, Becca. Like, oh, that was so painful because he's so good. And when Toby's like, you're not my father, or no, he says, I'm not your father. He's like, well, then don't act like my father. I was like, oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
I was like, excuse me, Peter. He raised you. Yeah. He is as good as your dad. Why are there so many bad sons in this movie?
Right.
Everyone's such a shitty kid to their loving parents who are just trying their best.
Yeah.
I guess that's a take that I have as an adult that I probably didn't have as a kid.
Well, we've got an hour left. Let's talk about Randy Savage for the next hour as Bonesaw McGraw.
Bonesaw is ready.
Yeah. How did I know?
Yeah, exactly. I got you for 3 seconds. Remember, he holds up like the last 3 fingers on his hand. That's awesome. Anyway,
it's so
rest
good.
in peace.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
great. I said actor. He is an actor, but he's also a wrestler.
Well,
yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But anyway, he was great.
Also, apparently, that's supposed to be Mysterio, who's running the ring, the wrestling match.
Really?
Yeah, it came out. Sam Raimi was talking about how in Spider-Man 4, that never came out, it was supposed to be Mysterio.
Because he's also in all 3 Spider-Man movies, playing different people.
I didn't know. Oh, see? Okay, can we all agree that we all remember where we were the day we found out that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man trilogy had been rebooted? Because that was a sad day in comic book movies. We can all agree on that, right? Like, I was so depressed.
Couldn't tell you what was going on in my life at that point. Don't remember it.
Well, I don't remember either, but you get my point. Like, it was just so, come on, keep it going.
I thought you were going to say the day that Macho Man Randy Savage married Miss Elizabeth.
Oh no, I definitely remember what I was doing.
We can all
that
agree,
day.
right?
Yeah, come on. I don't remember.
Can I talk about a problem I have with this
Okay,
movie?
Okay, so we all talk about how much we love it. Let's talk about problems now. Bex Luthor, what's your problems with this movie?
Man, I don't like that. I know that our number 1 listened country is America right now, but if 9/11 hadn't happened, this movie would have been better.
Because of the Twin Towers?
Well, no, because of the don't mess with New York. I hate it. I hate
you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Which definitely, like, I know that 9/11 changed pretty much how cinema was after the fact.
American cinema, yes.
I mean, yeah, which affects the rest of the world, unfortunately. And it's interesting because it's so far removed from, like, my personal history that we just bring it up like it's a thing that happened, but obviously it was a bad thing that happened. But man, did it make a lot of movies go, you mess with New York, you can't mess with New York. Like, come on. I hate it. Why did the New Yorkers have to throw stuff at the Green Goblin? Why did the garbage men have to help Peter save the day?
Well, my Avril Lavigne has Lyme disease fun fact is that in September of 2001, one of the first trailers for this movie came out, and the whole thing of the trailer is that Spider-Man is like being chased by helicopters, and we see him like, putting his webs everywhere on the buildings, and then we zoom out and the helicopter's caught in the webs in between the Twin Towers.
Yep.
And it had to be like pulled right away.
Right. Yep. Here's the thing. I just want to give a counterpoint. The structure of this movie is largely based on Richard Donner's Superman. There's a lot of parallels. You can actually follow along and go, and they actually match up the story beats. Like, once he becomes Spider-Man, he goes on a little, excursion of like just arresting a bunch of people in a row, which follows Superman exactly. Green Goblin giving him the choice of rescuing either Mary Jane or a group of people is just like Lois Lane versus Hackensack, New Jersey. So there's a lot of parallels there. And I think that when all the New Yorkers team up against Green Goblin, although it is probably a 9/11 thing, that exact thing happened in Superman 2. When all of the New Yorkers, when Superman's down for the count, they all band together to team up against the Phantom Zone villains. So it could have been just an allusion to that. I don't know for sure,
Other things did change, like the ending where like the last scene of the movie, like after the funeral for Norman, Spider-Man is swinging through the city and he like ends on the American flag.
Right.
That is all done post 9/11 as well.
Yeah, that was I didn't like that either.
Well,
I do like that scene though with Mary Jane when she kisses him and Peter's like, nah, actually we can't do this.
Yeah.
And then she's like, wait a second, he kisses just like the other guy that I kissed, and that's how she finds out that he's Spider-Man, because I'm almost certain that was Peter Parker's first kiss, was that kiss with Mary Jane in the rain. And then his second kiss was that kiss on top of his uncle's grave at his not girlfriend's ex-boyfriend's dad's funeral. And then she's like, Spider-Man is a bad kisser. Peter Parker's a bad kisser.
wait a second.
Maybe they're the same bad kisser. I just like that.
Well,
Because, like, he's a huge nerd, right? There's no way he's kissed anyone else.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But no,
it's
good point.
high
Good
school
point.
too,
Okay.
yeah.
But I will say, I don't want to. I mean, we're kind of jumping ahead, but that ending, I was actually surprised. I forgot how good the ending was because he spends the whole movie trying to get Mary Jane. At the end, she does say that she loves him, but no, just like the old Steve Ditko Stanley comics, nope. He's got to choose duty and responsibility over, love or whatever. And so he's like, nope, I'm sorry, I can't be with you because in his head, because I'm Spider. I thought that was so good, that ending. It was great.
And to her, she's just like, what? Why?
Yeah, exactly. No explanation. Okay, so G.I. Julie, were there any things you didn't like about this movie?
Oh my God.
Wait, should I leave you for last? Okay.
James Franco. Just the weird cartoonish nature of the sets. Anyway, things didn't hold up.
Well,
Yeah, the sets are weird.
can I just
They look like sets.
I'll just say, I'll tell you right now, when the trailer came out with the CGI Spider-Man swinging through the city, everybody complained about it. So even in 2002, it did not look good. Trust me.
I didn't think
But
it
there is
looked
that
awful
sorry.
when he's
What's that?
swinging through the city.
No.
When I'm
Yeah.
thinking back on it, I was like, okay, let's get ready for some like Rubberman animation. But it was definitely there, but it was not as bad as I remember it being, and probably because at the time when you think about it, like then it's like, whoa, that's really bad. But then you go back and revisit it, and it's fine.
Well, I'll just say one thing about that. The thing is, and I've always said this, I don't think you can really feel any emotions by seeing CGI. Like when Spider-Man is, first realizing what his powers are and he starts crawling up the wall and it's clearly Tobey Maguire, that is like there's a visceral feeling like, oh my God, discovering your superpowers. But the second it switches to CGI, you kind of just tune out, right? You kind of just go, oh, now I'm looking at something. Whereas before that, you feel like you're in it, right? I think that's the difference.
I think that's the case in some, like sometimes. I think that when it's done poorly, I agree. Like, especially when it jumps from being live action to CG, it takes you out. But I don't think as a whole, I think that you can, like, if you're in a movie, you can suspend your disbelief. Like for Thanos, I believe that was a real thing when I was watching the movie.
True.
You know what I mean?
Motion
Or
capture. Okay.
Or like Davy Jones as well. Like Davy Jones from the Pirates movies still holds up today. It's insane how fantastic that character is done.
Okay.
Or even looking at like animated movies too, like Up. You're gonna tell me you didn't watch Up and you didn't cry? The first like few minutes of that movie, you know what I mean?
So.
Like,
I don't remember it, but yeah, I remember it being good. Yeah.
But I do get what you're saying. I think that the difference is though it because it cuts from like live action to like noticeably bad, and you're supposed to believe that is the same thing. That's when it's jarring, I think.
Right. Okay, so G.I. Julie, it sounded like you had a lot to say. Is there anything else you didn't like about this movie?
Oh my goodness. There's so much I can't pick one thing, but the main things that stick out are pretty much things that we've already discussed, like the weird helmet that I almost called him Loki because he's green and
Purple?
purple. Yeah. But not the hobgoblin. The hobgoblin?
Green Goblin.
The Green Goblin. Sorry. Yeah. They're just okay. It's either the like all around the things that I like about this film are like 100. They're at like 100 level, but the things I really don't like, they're like really bad. Either things are really, really good or really, really bad. There's no like mediocrity in between that kind of like marry the two things. So you have, on one hand, you have Willem Dafoe, who's like freaking amazing. And then on the other hand, you have Tobey Maguire.
He is the greatest superhero actor since Christopher Reeve. But go ahead. I love him. Anyway.
Hey, don't let Robert Pattinson hear you say that. We haven't even seen Batman yet.
Let me take that
Stop.
back. Okay.
You can't just make assessments like that on the fly. They're too. Anyway, I'm not ever gonna watch this movie again. That's it. That's it for me. Having to rewatch it for this reminded me, I was like, oh, do you know what? I had nostalgia for that. And then I watched it again. And then I was like, oh, well, that's over. Do you know what? It reminded me of when I rewatched Gargoyles. It was disappointing. Anyway.
Oh, really? That's sad. I love Gargoyles.
I did too.
So I'll just say, I'm gonna back up, reiterate what I said, that I love Tobey Maguire. He transcended all my expectations, just like Willem Dafoe, just like J.K. Simmons. But there are a couple things I didn't like about this movie, and I think not many, but I think the main, as far as the plot of this movie, it was pretty airtight. But there was a point in the movie where you could tell that they added a new subplot in post. I'm not sure if you guys ever noticed this, but you remember when Willem Dafoe is talking to himself in the mirror? And the voice is like, we need to destroy Spider-Man. And then it cuts to a shot of good Willem Dafoe, and you hear the voice say, or he could join us. And it's like, oh, they just added that in post. So then the next 2 or 3 scenes in a row are that new subplot where Goblin, goes to Daily Bugle, kidnaps Spider-Man, puts him on the roof, talks to him, tries to convince him to join him. Spider-Man turns him down. Then they go to the fire, the next scene, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? All of those scenes contain 2 people with masks. So clearly that dialogue could have all been overdubbed, right? So I think what they did was they finished the movie and they're like, oh, this middle 10 minutes doesn't, we got to strengthen it up a little bit. So they thought of this new idea where they added in this plot of Green Goblin trying to like turn Spider-Man bad and getting him to join him. And I thought that was really weak because one of the weaknesses of superhero movies, especially in this time, is, Batman Returns. They try to turn Batman evil, or they try to turn the public against Batman. I think they've done it in... anyway, I can't remember what other movies they've done it, but they definitely try to do it in a lot of superhero movies. And I thought that was the only weak part of the writing, so I didn't like that. The only other thing I didn't really like was, I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, but the 2 origins of Green Goblin and Spider-Man, they have no connection. And yet you're watching the movie and they're like, let's show 5 minutes of Spider-Man. Okay, now 5 minutes of Green Goblin, 10 minutes of Green Goblin, 10 minutes of Spider-Man. But there's no connection between the two, so it really feels awkward. Like at least if they could have tied them together somehow, like maybe the genetic modification on the spider was somehow tied to something Osborn was doing, that would have made it at least feel connected. But it just felt like 2 separate movies that just happened to kind of meet up in the middle. That's what I felt like. Josh, do you feel the same thing?
Yeah, you know what? I guess maybe I didn't realize, but for some, maybe this was just something that I came up with in my head. But I thought that for some reason when they were going on the tour for the science lab or whatever, when he gets bit by the spider, I thought that was Oscorp. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're not, because they talk about how they're genetically modifying and making new spiders to combine the strengths of all of them. So I just assumed that that the stuff was being experimented on to like extract like strengths and stuff like that.
Sure. See,
And then
that would've been better.
they even said too that in the experiments they were all successful except for one that had extreme like temper issues. And I thought maybe that could have even been the spider, because the spider escapes and then drops down on Peter and bites him immediately.
Right. Well, there you go.
But-
Even that right there is a kind of an improvement, right, over what we got as far as the plotting. Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that they ever say it. And I'm not even sure if they say that they're going on a tour at Oscorp, but I think that's always just what I had in my head.
Yeah. I think
Wikipedia says it's just Columbia University that they're at.
Okay.
I think, like, honestly, like, the human instinct is to try and make things tie together even when they don't. And that's probably why in your brain you just assumed, oh, this must be Oscorp, right? Because you're watching the movie thinking, well, this must tie in somehow, but it just probably doesn't.
Right.
So, yeah. Let's give our final comments and say where we rate this movie compared to all the other superhero movies that have come out since 2002. I mean, we don't have to give an exact number, but approximately, how does it rate? Josh, where do you think this compares to, like, the movies we've gotten in the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's so hard to even say, though, because it's really hard to say because if this came out today, it wouldn't be good, I don't think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it would feel
think-
dated. I don't think it would really fit in the... Like, I don't know. I don't think it would be as strong. I think that the costumes would be like not that great. The CGI, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to rate it with movies today. But I think it's I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't think I can really rate it with other superheroes. I think at the time this is the best of the best. I think it's better than X-Men. It's better than Blade or any of the Superman or even Batman movies, I would say. I think that maybe this is even better than the Tim Burton Batman, maybe tied with that. Like, it's on that level. But as far as superhero movies go, like, it's pretty good. It's like a fateful retelling of the Spider-Man story you get from the comics, and yeah, I really liked it. Oh, you know what? I think the only thing we didn't talk about is the awfulness that is the organic web shooters. I hate that.
Hate it too.
You know what's funny? I hate it because it's not the comic, but I can totally see why they did it. I don't really mind it at all.
Yeah, it's just they say. I think it was Sam Raimi who said nobody would believe that a kid could build web shooters, mechanical web shooters, and have the technology to do that. And I'm like, you made him he sewed and created his own
Yeah. Never mind
like
the web shooters. Yeah.
spandex costume that was like perfectly fit for him, right? You do know that, right?
Yeah, someone who makes costumes, that's harder probably than creating web shooters.
Yeah,
And
he
he has web
pops out
shooters-
some sunglasses for the eyes. Like, okay.
Yeah,
All
sure,
right.
buddy. That's how it works. Be fine.
Okay, so G.I. Jolie, what do you think? Compared to current superhero movies.
Very, very low on the scale. I disagree with Josh about Blade. I would rank Blade higher than this.
Have you rewatched Blade recently, though?
I rewatch Blade a lot.
Okay.
Do you know why it has the special fondness for the EDM vampire bloodbath meat house rave? There's a small part in my deep dark heart, and that is in there. Let's see. Also, Wesley Snipes. Come on now. I would rank it very... If I watched it today for the first time ever, like it came out yesterday, hypothetically, in this scenario, I would rate it very, very low. I would be like, what is this? like Black Widow currently holds a higher spot than this movie. Yeah, it's in a very special category in my mind that Tim Burton, like movies like Tim Burton's Batman reside in, but also like Dark City, just that it has a certain aesthetic. The way that like Technicolor film has a certain aesthetic. Like it's all very bright, very filmic, like very appetizing to look at, very lush. Spider-Man now is kind of like almost like camp. It almost is.
But like
It's
we
not,
said, it was intentional. Like we said, like it was.
Yeah, so it falls in line with like Sleepy Hollow, Casper even. Like just that look of film from... You look at a film like that and you go, that is from the late 90s, early 2000s. And it doesn't cut it. It wouldn't cut it today. Even Dark Phoenix, which was a shite movie, was more of a film than this one. Ugh,
What?
sorry.
Okay, Bex Luthor. Tell us what you think.
Yikes.
Where does it compare? How does it hold up?
I don't think you can compare it to modern stuff just on a, I don't know. There's a gay joke in this movie, which I forgot about, and then I went, oh, he calls Bonesaw, like, oh, nice outfit, did your husband make it for you? And everyone's like, ooh, and maybe he did. Shut up, Peter. Fuck.
Yeah.
Why did you get so homophobic? Maybe his husband did make it for him. And in fact, don't be pissy about it because his husband made a better outfit than you did. So...
Yeah.
And then Mary Jane's just casual cultural appropriation, you know, that kind of stuff. That just when she's
every outfit.
Every
pretty
outfit.
much every outfit.
Didn't notice.
But like things that now are important to me as an adult, like positive representation of people of color, positive representation of women, of LGBTQ people, that kind of stuff is at the forefront of my media consumption now versus when I was 10 years old and Spider-Man was cool. Like, and that was my barometer for things. Is Spider-Man cool? Yes, I like it. Now I'm like, oh, are the female portrayals in this movie good? Absolutely not. Mary Jane spends most of the movie screaming. Aunt May spends most of the movie sobbing. And those are the women. So it's just like, oh, okay. Like little 10-year-old me liked Spider-Man because Spider-Man was cool, but also at the same time would have loved to see somebody who looked like me. I can't imagine what little boys watching Black Panther feel like now. Like little black boys now who get to watch Black Panther. Like I can't. Like that would have meant so much to me as a kid. So is this movie have a place in my heart? Absolutely. I mean, I do. I did enjoy it, but obviously like. The things that I didn't like about it matter more to me now than they would have in 2002. So, and I can fault movies for flaws. Like Captain Marvel is one of my favorite MCU movies because I love the portrayal of Carol Danvers so much and how important that is to me. But I can there's some plot flaws in it and stuff like that, but it also doesn't matter to me as much because of what the movie means. Same with Wonder Woman, things like that. So this movie is not... Yeah, I'm with Jolie. It wouldn't fly today. I think the Raimi trilogy wouldn't work today. Not that the whole three of them did. Only two of them worked, but... I don't know. I didn't mean to bring the whole vibe down with me talking about real world stuff.
No, it's true
okay.
and it's important. I think that...
Mike... Fine, shut up.
No.
Go ahead,
yeah.
Do you know what? I will chime in. I will say what you said about young black children seeing Black Panther on the screen for the first time is how I'm about to feel when I see Shang-Chi.
And how old are you, Jolie?
I'm 37. I had to wait this long to feel this good about an Asian man being the star. Oh, and Awkwafina. Being the star of a Marvel movie. It better be good. You know what? I don't care.
And
it's gonna be
he's
fine.
also Canadian too.
Right?
Yeah.
Brampton, Mississauga. Who knows?
Yeah, I think
GTA.
Well,
This movie is very
Yeah.
2002.
Yeah.
There's no escaping this. I forget what video I was watching, but I was watching a YouTube video where somebody points out that like in the Spider-Man montage where he's like doing Spider-Man things for the first time and he captures some like armed burglars and the guy points out that the girl has like a midriff in her criminal outfit. I was like, oh man, that's this movie. That's that movie's aesthetic to a T.
Well, here's the thing. All the movies we like in 2021, when we judge them in 2040, they're going to be just as dated, and we're going to criticize them for things that we don't realize, for flaws that we don't recognize right now. So we'll get back to that on our 1000th episode, if we ever get one. But for me personally, I think it could come out today. I mean, obviously there's things that are dated, like we just said, and there's always going to be, but I do think you can easily compare it to Marvel Studios films because I think it's actually better than most Marvel Studios films. Like I said, I saw this movie 4 times in the theater, and I've seen it many times since. Whereas with Marvel films, I usually only see them once, and then I'm bored, so I don't watch them again. I think that this is much better than Loki or Falcon and Winter Soldier or any of those movies. I think the only Marvel Studios films that compare to this would be like Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, maybe Winter Soldier, maybe WandaVision, that's about it. And then obviously Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Those are excellent. But the rest of them, I don't think they compare to this movie. I think this is much better. So, but that's just me.
You like this better than Loki?
Oh my God, yes. I'll never watch Loki again, ever. I didn't like it at all. No, I did nothing for me. No.
Hottest take by Mike L here.
Yeah, we'll talk about. Maybe they'll invite me on Full Volume and I'll talk about that. But oh my God, that last
Not now.
episode, I was like, what the fuck is
those episodes are already out?
We'll talk about that later, but that's a whole other thing. But anyway, so yeah, I still love this movie. It was impossibly better than I remembered, which I didn't think was possible, but it was. So yeah, I still liked it. And I'm looking forward to an upcoming episode of Spider-Cast when we review Spider-Man 2, because that's coming soon. But before we do that, next week, be sure to join us, because we are going to be talking about... actually, this is weird. We've got a 3-part crossover coming between all 3 Spider-Man stories. It's called Missing in Action. Spider-Man goes missing for 3 issues, and everyone's going to go looking for him. So Web of Spider-Man 17 features an appearance by Magma, who is a future candidate for our favorite super villain on the Spider-Cast. Amazing Spider-Man features Silver Sable and what's his name, Jack-O-Lantern, and Peter Parker 117 features Black Cat and Doctor Strange. So yes, we want to thank. I got to give a special thanks to Joshua Mervell for doing 99 out of the 100 episodes. You only missed 1.
Right, just the one.
Just that one.
It was a good one, though, to miss.
It was the best one ever. But anyway, we want to thank you, Josh, for being there for almost every episode.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me on to be a part of this. I mean, I think before this, I wasn't really part of the syndicate. I was just kind of like a guest.
Yeah, you'd only done one movie review. Yeah, just one movie review, I think. That was it. Maybe 1 or 2. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we did Spider-Man and then we were doing Spider-Cast, and then the last thing we did was Bloodshot.
Right. I forgot about that. So yeah. All right. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying yourself.
I am. Yeah.
All right, and then we want to thank G.I. Jolie for joining us sort of early on in the show, right? Jolie, you've been here for, I don't know how many episodes now. I don't know when you joined us, but it's been a while now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I sporadically filled in and made my appearances. And then when I didn't feel like not napping, I would tune in.
There you go.
Honestly, 3 books is a lot to read. And then sometimes you make us read 4.
Okay, we'll have that conversation off the air. Anyway, thank you for joining us. And then
I got stuff to do.
Yeah, and then Bex Luther, thank you so much for joining us later on in the game, but you've been here consistently for, I don't know how long, a year now?
I missed 1 episode because I was having the double COVID.
Oh,
shakes.
Right. Well, at least you're double vaxxed now, right?
Yeah, that means I'm better than everybody else.
All part of the 2 live crew.
Yeah, you should see how good my 5G is. No, I love being on the podcast. I love having an excuse to read comic books and then talk about it, because that's been my entire life has been reading comic books and wanting to talk about it. So
Good.
hence my vast array of friends.
Hence your lists, right? There you go.
Oh yeah, me and the lists. That's all.
Yeah.
Look, if I don't have my lists, what do I have?
Exactly. I'm with you on that. You know that. But anyway, yeah, so be sure to join us next week. And Joshua Mervell, you can take it from here.
We want to thank you guys so much for listening to 100 episodes of Here Comes the Spider-Cast. We want to keep in touch. It really helps when you leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts, or you can drop us a line on Twitter at HCT Spidercast. Yeah, please let us know. I mean, let us know where you guys are from. This is crazy that we've got
France, Belgium,
listeners from all over the world. So, or should I say listener from all over the world?
There you go. They're just moving around.
Yeah.
It's one guy, but he travels.
Yeah, keep in touch. We definitely want to keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. And now, for the last time ever, I'm retiring this catchphrase. Until next Monday, Spider Friends, go!